Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Paying the Ferryman 777, or indeed welcome back if you've been watching my videos already. I really appreciate that. So let's get straight into it. I'm coming at you from Chiang Mai in northern Thailand. I came here to complete a mission. Part of it is to share this, so I'm working hard to put out the videos. And I want to talk about the next couple of rituals that I did, the ayahuasca rituals, as part of my spiritual awakening story. So if you had watched the previous video already, you'll know a little bit about the last ritual I did, the violet fire of Saint Germain. The very next day we went to another ritual, but it was actually a ritual on the beach. So we drove like 3.5 hours to get to the coast in Brazil, and the ritual would be held the next morning on the beach. Really beautiful place to have a ritual. The ritual was themed in the force of Iemanjá. And again, I mentioned her in previous videos. She's the goddess of the ocean, or the divine force behind the ocean, if you prefer. A goddess from the African matrix of orishas. There are many orishas, and they all represent different forces of nature, different divine forces of nature. So this ritual was in her honor, in her force, and that's why the beach was the perfect place, obviously right beside the ocean. I was really looking forward to it. It would be the first ritual outside of a center, outside of a building, that I had participated in. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best. In fact, that's putting it lightly. It was awful. The medicine on this occasion just made me feel really sick. It was terrible. I thought that maybe it was my fault, like I didn't do the correct diets beforehand, and maybe because I ate some fatty food the day before, that it was my fault. But I'd later find out that it wasn't my fault. So as the ritual commenced, everybody was in a circle. We did like a protective circle on the sand. You were not permitted to leave this circle for safety unless you needed to go to the toilet. Then you could go and come straight back, but you had to stay inside this protective circle. And there was a fire in the middle of the circle, and everybody was sitting around and consecrating the medicine and listening to the music, just like you normally do. But I just got violently ill. I hated every moment. My stomach was churning. I just wanted to sleep. I wanted it to be over. It was terrible. I didn't feel good whatsoever. And it was also, it was hard because I still connected with spirit. I still connected in a way, but it was really disturbed by the physical sickness I was feeling. I really didn't enjoy it at all. Outside the circle, however, like the protective circle on the beach, I could sense hundreds of spirits. I could feel them all looking in at the circle. I could even hear them sometimes like whispering and talking and stuff like that. And it was frustrating. It was really frustrating. I couldn't really enjoy the force. I couldn't really work with the spirits like I had been learning to do to help them. I couldn't do anything essentially. It was really terrible. In fact, if you go to my Instagram, I made Instagram on this weekend. The very first photo on my Instagram account, if you scroll all the way down, it's a sunset. Oh, excuse me, a sunrise on the beach. The morning after the ritual. So the ritual went through the night, and then the sun rose, obviously, and we went to the water to give thanks to Iemanjá, to give thanks to the ocean, and just wet our feet basically as the sun rose in this beautiful tropical Brazilian beach. It was amazing. That was the best part. The end was the best part for me to get out of there. But the sunrise was so inspirational that I created my Instagram account so I could post that photo. I would later find out why the ritual was so bad for me. The medicine I was given wasn't given with good intention. It wasn't good medicine, right? You can put intention into things before you give it to someone. You should always beware gifts, because people can essentially curse them with bad energy before they give them to you. And then you're getting that bad energy. Works the same with food and drinks. You can curse them or bless them with food or drinks. You should always, like, cook, for example. If you're cooking, cook with love, cook with joy, cook with happiness. That's why mother's food and grandmother's food, it's always the best, because they put all their love into it. They want you to be happy. So it's the best food. Tastes good. Even if it's simple, it's the best. We love it, right? So you can do the opposite. You can put bad intentions into your food. If you're cooking and you're angry and you're like pissed off and you're stirring the pot, you're getting all that energy in that food when you eat it. So remember, energy flows where your attention goes. So if your attention is on the food that you're cooking and your energy is really bad, you're just charging that food with bad energy. So try not to do that. But yeah, she came to me, the madrina, the godmother of the tribe. Let's call her Lizzie. She came to me a while later saying sorry that she gave me the wrong medicine. It was a bad batch that they had got, and she took that instead of the other box that had the good medicine in it. But really it was more of a fuck you to me that was planned, because I went to a different tribe. If you go back 2 videos, I talk about the Golden Eagle tribe that I visited. It was the first time that I had left my tribe and went to another tribe. And like I said in the previous videos, the start of this understanding about rivalry and all these spiritual battles and enemy people with enemies and stuff like that. So there was probably a bit of resentment or jealousy or something like that. And it came out like that, by a kind of a little fuck you, take the shitty medicine, and that doesn't really work, and we'll take the good medicine. I didn't understand any of that at the time. It's way later that I had to put the pieces together, but no badness, nothing like that. What I've learned through my processes with the medicines, with spirituality, is that sometimes other people will act like antagonists for our shadow, and then they will suck out our shadow. They will make our shadow present itself. So some negative things, anger, hate, whatever it might be. One person's light shines on the other person's shadow, pulls it out of them, causes them to process it, to act on it, and in that process at least it's out and processed and it's not in them anymore. So it's healing. You know, an enemy can be necessary in order for you to get out the negativity that's in you and direct it towards something, direct it towards a target. It's like sucking the venom out of a snake bite, right? So I'm actually grateful for all of that. But again, this is only the beginning. I hadn't really understand how bad this would get, how dark it would get. But that's where it kind of started, was when I went to a different tribe. There was resentment. It's a little bit culty, in my opinion, but okay. That would be the 13th, the 13th ayahuasca ritual that I had done, the one on the beach. And the next week I would go and do the 14th one. So that was a ritual with an African theme. So each ritual again has a different theme, and you're bringing in different energies using fundamentals of magic, offerings, and music. So the African ritual was really beautiful, tribal music from Africa, and it also like incorporated music from these orishas, these African gods and goddesses, these forces of nature. So we actually brought a couple of friends with us to this ritual. 3 girlfriends that we had at the time. They weren't really in that world, in shamanism, in spirituality, like that, but we brought them with us to that ritual, and it was so nice. It was so beautiful to watch their processes, to see them open up like flowers. That's how I describe it when I do this work. It's actually the most beautiful thing that you can witness. It's so amazing to watch someone release and blossom. Even in just one ritual, you can have such a profound blossoming. That's the way I like to describe it, because it's like a flower opening. And to watch our friends and go through those processes and resolve things and cry and let it out and then feel good afterwards, it was really, really beautiful. One of the interesting things that happened in this ritual, the force was really strong. The force of the medicine, the force of the orishas, the African energy was really, really strong. We saw a lot of spirit animals present themselves, visions as usual, connections with entities, incorporation of my guides. All of those things that would normally happen in rituals were happening, and quite strong. At one point, I didn't see this. I was in my own little process, but I did see my husband Igor, like on his knees with his head on the ground, and I saw the madrina of the tribe doing the same thing. And he later told me that he did that as he saw hooved feet. So like Lucifer's feet, or an entity at least with horns and hooves and feet. But he said he didn't have the courage to look up and see the rest. But he said, yeah, as he was like with his head down on the ground like that, he just looked to the side and he saw hooved feet walking through the room, and the godmother was bowing with her head on the ground to this entity that was walking through the room. So if we assume it's Lucifer, right, it probably wasn't. There are entities that look like that are not Lucifer, but they would work in the same way as him. In fact, if you have been watching my videos, you'll remember from the very first video, it was the start of my process was because of Lucifer. And I prayed to him in desperation, and he came like that. People have a very convoluted and erroneous idea about Lucifer. People think he's the devil in the Bible, right? People think he's the ultimate evil, and we have many movies and TV shows that will confirm this to people, that Lucifer is the devil, right? That could not be further from the truth. And in fact, those who propose that and have pushed that for a very, very long time are demonizing a force that actually brings light. They're demonizing a powerful entity who is actually responsible for people's evolution, for helping them to illuminate. He's the morning star. He's the star that comes in the morning. He's the light bringer. He's the one who illuminates, and he's the one who started my journey. He's the one who helped me out of the suffering, out of the darkness. If you watch my first video, you'll remember that. Yeah, like he's not evil. He's not the devil. And also, there is no devil, right? Sorry to take away your scapegoat for all of the bad in the world, but the bad in the world is us. It's very convenient to have a monster to blame for all of humanity's bad intentions and bad actions, and say, oh, he did it, he's the cause of all of those things. Well, no. We need to take responsibility for our actions, and not blame a scapegoat. And I know how that feels very well. I'm a Capricorn, so in tarot, the devil card is represents Capricorn. Capricorn's a goat, right? Hoof, feet, horns, right? And I know how it feels to be a scapegoat. And yeah, it's just a unfortunate misrepresentation that took hold, was pushed, and now everybody confuses an entity who is in fact responsible for enlightenment and helping people to get out of the samsara, let's say. They confuse him for an evil entity, and thus never approach him to get enlightenment. And that's very convenient for the powerful people. They can continue to keep you in ignorance and keep you down and keep you in darkness because they have demonized certain entities that can actually help us. I've talked with Lucifer on more than one occasion, and he has helped me immensely. Entities on the left, let's say the left hand path, or leftist entities, not leftist politically, but you have the right and you've got the left magic. And the entities on the left, they're not evil. It's a misconception. There's nothing bad about them. There's nothing dark about them. They're honest in terms of, like, if you're a cunt, they're not gonna beat around the bush. They'll tell you out straight. They'll teach you in a kind of a tough love way as well. And they won't always tell you the truth, but they'll tell you what you need to hear to help you to evolve. They'll tell you what's necessary for you to change, to get you out of patterns or cycles or whatever else. So it's just a very common misconception. But yeah, enough about that. Another nice thing that happened in this ritual was towards the end. I incorporated another guide, a spirit guide, who I'd been getting to know a little bit. And this spirit guide, very sweet, in Portuguese. He's called Preto Velho, which means an old black man. Like they're an archetype of the slaves that came from Africa to Brazil, and they suffered immensely. They suffered so much, and their beliefs were stripped from them. They were forced into Catholicism, and they needed to do things like use statues of saints to represent their orishas. So they had to synchronize Catholic saints with their orishas. People still do that today. But these old black men, there's old black women too, these entities that work within some religions in Brazil, through mediums, again, to help people, to bless people. They're very, very calm, very peaceful, and they're very actually Christian. They'd often wear a crucifix or a cross. They like to smoke a pipe often. They like coffee, and they like cake and things like that. And they'll do blessings on people. They'll pray over people. They'll do exorcisms or de-obsessions of negative spirits, negative energies. They're very, very powerful, high vibrational guides or entities. And I connected with this Preto Velho, this old black man, at the end of the ritual, and I was just sitting there in this blissful peace. Like, this is the energy that they have. They're so peaceful, they're so good, they're so gentle in general, and it was very beautiful. I was sitting, and usually after rituals people will be talking and eating and stuff like that, but people were coming I was just sitting down in this energy of the Preto Velho, and people were coming to me and then sitting in front of me and just saying hello and talking to me and like asking for blessings, and people who kept coming over, and I was like channeling, incorporating this energy of Preto Velho, of the old black man, and that was really nice. I really enjoyed that. Another thing I did at the end of this ritual, which I had kind of started to do here and there, people, I guess, heard that it was good, so they'd come and ask me for Reiki, and I'd often be too tired, so I'd probably say, okay, just one, I'll do one, and we'll maybe do the next one another night after the next ritual, because it's quite tiring, a ritual, and sometimes you're not in the humor. But I did a Reiki for a friend, one of the friends that we brought with us, and she really benefited from the ritual, and then on top of that, from the Reiki. I noticed in this process of doing the Reiki with her that I became incredibly empathetic, and I connected with her in a really strong way, and I could feel her pain, I could feel her sadness, I was crying with her and processing these energies with her, and that was interesting. The empathy had increased immense to such a degree that I could feel what other people were feeling and how they were vibrating. So I think it's an important lesson too, as humanity goes through this current phase and we evolve. People are getting more in tune with their natural psychic abilities, let's say, their ability to read energy. So people's bullshit just isn't going to fly anymore. People's fakeness and inauthenticity is just not going to fly anymore, especially going forward into the future. People will see through it. We'll all start to develop higher levels of empathy. You just won't be able to lie, essentially. It's not going to work. People will be able to feel it. Do you get me? So yeah, you won't be able to wear masks anymore as we go forward. So yeah, I did that Reiki, and then I did a Reiki not for another guy in the same night, a friend that I had started to get to know. Let's call him Vincent. I met him a couple of rituals before, and we started talking. I saw him sitting there after a ritual. I just looked at him, and something told me to go over. It was his first time to the tribe, and I was like, oh, I'll go and talk to him. I know what it's like to be in a new place for the first time, so I'll go and talk to him. And yeah, I got to know him a little bit, and I gave him a Reiki on this night, and he enjoyed it. I was showing him how to use Hape, the medicine that I talked about in previous videos. And what's interesting about certain people who are, let's say, more aligned, let's say more resolved, more healed and connected again, they glow. They have a charisma that's you just can't match it unless you do the work, unless you do the healing work and connect and align yourself with your spirituality. They have this charisma, they have this glow about them. And I noticed that in him when I first saw him, so much so that it made me want to go and talk to him. And we became friends, and I owe him a lot. In fact, later on in my process, he said, write down your experiences. And if he didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have the memory of all the stuff that I can share with you now. He would become literally a mortal enemy of mine for a period. And over time, when I matured spiritually, closer to the level that he was at the time, I started to understand the whole process we had together as enemies. It was necessary. But again, about that charisma, I have people message me on Instagram saying, like, how do you love like that? How do you develop your charisma, your authenticity? And that's how you align yourself with source. You heal, you do the inner work, get therapy, do psychoanalysis, whatever you can do to make yourself better, to make yourself more complete, more whole. You know, go to healers, go to shamans, do Reiki, whatever you tickles your fancy. Take ayahuasca with a shaman, go to a center, go to a retreat, take mushrooms with a shaman, go to a retreat. Focus more on your healing. It's how you start to glow. It's how you start to vibrate higher, and that's attractive. That's really attractive. People look at you. It happened with this guy Vincent, and it happened with the madrina, Lizzie, the mother of the tribe. The first time I saw her walking into the room and the first ritual, I didn't know she was the madrina of the tribe, but something in me told me that she was strong. In fact, the word witch came to my mind, and I was impressed by her energy. My eyes were fixed on her as she walked across the hall, and I even talked to my husband about it. I was like, she's magic. She's strong because she has this energy. She just has this charisma that oozes out of her. So you'll notice that with magical or spiritual people who've done the work, you'll see how attractive they are. But yeah, funnily enough, both these incredibly charismatic, advanced practitioners, aligned spiritual people would eventually become mortal enemies, and we would go through a process together, and the process was very, very hard and difficult, but in the end of the day it was healing. And now I can look back and I can understand just how important all of that was. So I'll get more into that, but I want to say now that whatever I share about enemies, I don't have enemies like that anymore. I understand the necessity that we had to go through those things together in order to heal each other. Like I said in the beginning, we suck out the venom from each other by giving each other targets, to project outwards what's in us, what we wouldn't get out otherwise. Anyway, I better cut this video here. I promised I'd keep them between 20 and 30 minutes, so they're more bite-sized, so we'll leave it there for now. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something from it. I'll be back soon with the next installment. Thanks for watching. Love you.